If you're writing a children's book and you haven't chosen your category yet, this video is for you because choosing the wrong category or leaving that decision too late can cost you months of work and a book that is very hard to market. I'll never forget the journey of one of my coaching members. She had just completed her picture book draft and was excited to refine it and publish it. At that point, I hadn't seen the manuscript, but I knew the concept and it was quite unique, heartfelt, something very personal to her. But as she worked on it, she struggled to make it work. So she reached out to me for help and she let me know the word count was high and the story was still very incomplete as she really wanted to add much more. So I read it and we realized it was not a picture book. She adjusted it into an early chapter book, but even then it didn't fit. The character's emotional journey was too complex and the author wanted to write about a serious topic in a way that was really more suitable for older kids. So after many hours of initially trying to cut and rewriting, she finally figured out it needed to be a full chapter book. So while she learned a lot, this made the process much harder than it had to be. She spent months learning a new category's expectations and rewriting to match. So if she had known more and chosen her category before writing, she would have saved herself an incredible amount of time and work. Now, this happens more often than you might think. So choosing the right category from the start determines so much. It determines your word count, your vocabulary, your story arc, and even how your book is marketed. Now, with this, part of the challenge was that she had envisioned a longer, more detailed story, but she hadn't realized at the start what that would require. This is why understanding the categories before you begin is so important. When you know the typical length and structure of each category, then you can develop your story idea with the right expectations. I know sometimes authors feel that having to fit within certain guidelines of a category can be limiting, but actually it leaves endless room for creativity and it makes marketing 1,000 times easier. Your category is your foundation. If you're writing a children's book, one of the most important decisions you will make is choosing your book's category. So as I just went over, you should do this early on in the process, ideally before you ever write the first word of the book, because knowing your category from the start affects everything about your book. Every age group, whether you're writing for toddlers or if you're writing early readers or middle grade, all of these kids have very different needs and expectations. And these differences affect your word count and your page count, the vocabulary that you should use, the style of your storytelling, the humor, the type and the amount of illustrations, and even how you will market the finished book. Now, children's books range from around 50 or really 0 words to 50,000 words, and from baby to teen. Now, this is a huge scope. So when you start writing without a clear category in mind, it's very easy to end up with a manuscript that doesn't really fit anywhere. Choosing the right category early helps you to write a better and more marketable book, and it makes your whole journey smoother. It's worth knowing that many stories can be rewritten to fit different categories. So, for example, my coaching member could have condensed the absolute highlights of her character's journey into a 600 to 700 word story, like a picture book biography that covers the years of a person's life in a few scenes. And of course, also ensuring the vocabulary and the emotional complexity and all the concepts were suitable for younger kids. But you have to be very intentional about how you expand or shorten a story, because it doesn't only affect word count and what you can include or leave out, it impacts a lot of things like the pacing and, of course, in the end, what the reader ultimately experiences. So Once you understand how crucial categories are, the next step is making sure that your book fits the one that you've chosen. So here's how to do it, and stay with me through all 3 steps, because the third one is the one that most authors rush past, and it's actually the most practical. Now, step 1 is to understand the expectations for each category. Each children's book category has a typical word count and a typical structure, illustration styles or amounts, and themes, and the differences are enormous. So to give you an idea or a sense of the range, let me walk you through a few key ones. So for instance, you get board books for ages 0 to 3, and they run from 0 to 200 words. The illustrations carry almost the entire concept with very minimal supporting text. Then you get early picture books for ages 2 to 5, and they run from 20 to 500 words with simple stories, often with rhythm and repetition, and full-page artwork supporting the text. You get picture books for ages 5 to 8 that run from 5 to 800 words with full story arcs, detailed full-color spread illustrations. And early chapter books for ages 5 to 7 run 1,000 to 6,000 words. So they're slightly longer stories with short chapters and illustrations on every page or spread. And at the other end of the scale, there are some in between, but at the other end, you get upper middle grade for ages 10 to 14, which can run 20,000 to 55,000 words, tackling deeper, more mature topics with very few illustrations. So those 5 alone show you how dramatically the expectations shift from one category to the next. The full list with every category, with age groups, word counts, page counts, how many illustrations, and more, is in my free complete children's book creation blueprint, and I'll put the link in the description below so you can grab it. It is a great resource to keep close as you work on your book. And the key tip I would give here is to use your target age range as your guide. Every choice you make, word choice, plot complexity, humor, all of it should match where your readers are developmentally. Now, step 2 is to read 5 to 10 books in your chosen category. For picture books and board books, you can honestly read many more because they're so short. Before writing, spend time reading published books in your category, and pay attention to story length and pacing, sentence structure, vocabulary, how the illustrations are used to support or extend the story, and common themes, emotional tone. This will give you a good understanding of what readers, parents, teachers, publishers expect, and help you to avoid common missteps. So I'll give you a couple of real examples, because seeing how published books fit their categories makes it much easier to write your own. For instance, for picture books, we can look at The Leaf Thief by Alice Heming for children aged 3 to 6. This one is approximately 375 words. It has a simple story arc. It's fully illustrated with pictures that enhance and tell parts of the story that are not in the text. And for early chapter books, Frog and Toad Are Friends by Arnold Lobel for ages 5 to 8 comes in at 2,281 words. And Mercy Watson to the Rescue by Kate DiCamillo for ages 5 to 8 has about 1,929 words. So both of those are perfect examples of the category. They're simple, but they have interesting plots, age-appropriate vocabulary. They have supportive illustrations on every page. Each of these books succeeds because the author and the publisher understood their category, and they created the book specifically to meet the expectations of that age group. And that is from word count to illustration style to sentence complexity. Every element fits the guidelines for its category, which gives book buyers exactly what they would expect, which is very important. Now, while you're reading these books, take notes on specific patterns you spot. How do the first pages start? What kind of opening line hooks the reader? How much dialogue is there? These small details can make all the difference in helping you create a professional manuscript. All right, then step 3. Now, step 3 is to use a simple category checklist. And this is the step that most authors rush past or don't even know to do. So before you commit to your manuscript and when you revise, run through these 5 questions. First, am I within the typical word count range for this type of book? Second, are my topic, my theme, and my tone appropriate for this target age group? Third, is my writing style right for my readers, vocabulary and comprehension level? And fourth, am I planning a suitable style and amount of illustrations? And number 5, have I studied enough successful books in this space to know how mine will compare, where it will fit, how it will stand out? If you can tick each of these boxes, then you're setting yourself up for success. Now, you might have heard something along the lines of, if the story is good enough, it will find its place. Sadly, this is not true. In reality, publishing and selling a children's book is about far, far more than just good writing. So, of course, good writing is important, but it's about fitting the expectations of a clear category and that fits the developmental stages of the readers. And when a manuscript doesn't fit a recognized category, for example, it's too long for a picture book, but too short for a chapter book, then publishers don't know where to shelve it. Booksellers don't know how to recommend it, and one rule is confused buyers always walk away. So that's why your picture book or your children's book needs to fit an exact category. Without it, even your most wonderful idea or story can end up overlooked or endlessly rejected if you're submitting to publishers. That's why deciding your category gives your story the best chance to succeed. Over to you. Have you already chosen your category, or are you realizing you might need to rethink where your story fits? I'd love to hear where you're at, so comment below. Are you clear on your category, or are you having some difficulty fitting it into one? I can't wait to hear what you're working on. No matter where you are in the process, getting clear on your category now will save you time, and it will help your story connect better with readers. So take the time to get clear on this before you write your book. And if you haven't grabbed the complete children's book creation blueprint yet, now is a great time. It's free. It covers every category with the details you need, and it will save you a lot of guesswork. The link is in the description below. If you found this useful, make sure you subscribe for more practical guidance on writing, publishing, and marketing your children's books. And if you're not already getting the KidLit Creators Chronicle, which is my free guide for children's book authors, the link to sign up is in the description below too.